All right, welcome on into the Wolverine TV. I am Clayton Sayfie with Chris Balas. You can check us out at thewolverine.com using the promo code BLUE60 for 2 months of our premium content for free. Join us on our message board over there. You can get all the insider intel right away, 24/7, again at thewolverine.com. Chris, let's talk Michigan basketball, the ever-changing roster situation in college basketball. Michigan's been more solidified than most teams, but they are looking to hopefully add a transfer tomorrow. We're recording this Friday, so Saturday at noon with DeVante Jones out of Coastal Carolina looking to make his decision. He's down between Michigan, Memphis, Texas, and Texas Tech. Your thoughts going in here quickly?
You never want to steal a kid's thunder. We really like Michigan's position here, though. We were talking to people close to him, and without giving it away, they said, you know what? It's amazing what Juwan Howard can do on a Zoom call. And I'm convinced, man, we've been putting together this basketball recruiting issue, and I cannot tell you how many people we have spoken with, recruits, parents, mentors, coaches that have all said the same thing, that once Juwan Howard gets on there, it's no BS. He's not guaranteeing anything. All he's doing is convincing these kids that, hey, we're going to have a good time here. Our culture's great. You're going to be a great fit here. Not promising any minutes or anything like that. He's telling them that you're going to have an opportunity. And when they ask for, hey, what happens if I go into a slump or something like that? He says, you know what? Then you're going to have to look in the mirror and you're going to have to see whose fault that is. And, we're going to do whatever it is to help you get out of it. But our goal here is to help the team win, man, first and foremost. But I like this kid. I think the first thing that I read about him was he's looking for a culture where he can win. And you know who it reminded me of? Mike Smith last year, right?
Yes,
When he said,
yes.
I just want to win. And sure, he has NBA aspirations, as Mike Smith did, but he wants to go somewhere and play at the highest level for a winner. And guess what? Juwan Howard's proven he can be that.
Yeah, and an interesting thing about DeVante Jones is his name is in the draft. Now, I don't think that's going to be an option for him, but he's basically going into this like, hey, I spent 3 years at Coastal Carolina. Heck of a player, in a mid-major there. Was Sun Belt Player of the Year, averaged 19 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists per game last season. Interesting about him as well. So basically his options are all open, but when you look at his game a little bit, I'm watching some of his highlights, watching some of his tape. He played a lot off the ball this past season, and I think that was just due to their roster. I mean, again,
Mm-hmm.
they were 18-8. They were a good team in a mid-major. Their point guard was pretty good when you watch some of this film. So they just decided, hey, let's get our best player off the ball, let him create on some spot-up opportunities and things like that. He's got tremendous numbers in transition, and I think this is something we've talked about a couple times where Juwan Howard wants to get out and run. That wasn't necessarily Xavier Simpson's MO as much. He's so good in the half court. Mike Smith, so good in the half court, not necessarily a great athlete. DeVante Jones isn't a great athlete either, but when you watch some of the film of him, very, very good in transition, making the right play just about every time. Again, I'm watching some highlights here, so they're not going to clip up the bad ones, but at the same time, this is a high-level guy in transition. You watch a lot of his clips are pick and roll as well. He uses his body well. Kind of an old man's game, I feel like people try to throw out there with him, and that's okay. I mean, when you look at I'm not going to compare him to Cassius Winston, but he was an old man's game too, and it worked
Yep.
out pretty well. So what have you, seen and heard, I guess, about DeVante Jones as a player? Obviously looks like he'd come in and probably run the point next to Eli Brooks next year.
Yeah, and look at what were his numbers in the assist area last year, Clay.
They-
You got it in
it-
front of you there?
yeah, 3 assists per game, but the year before he played a little more point and he was 6 assists a game, so that's important to note.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what? Mike Smith, look at his numbers. And when he got here and he was
Yes.
surrounded by great talent, he's going to be surrounded by great talent. And there's no question about it. That is, if he chooses to come to Michigan. But, Franz Wagner probably going pro, no question about it. But you got Caleb Houston coming in. You've got Brandon Johns coming back, and you've got the number 1 recruiting class in the country. And, don't forget about Hunter Dickinson there, man. You're going to get some opportunities on your shot, too. We saw Mike Smith's numbers go up dramatically from three-point range, due in part because of the big man in the middle. When people collapse on him, you're getting better looks. Sean D. Brown, same thing, right? Became, a 41% three-point shooter, something like that, after going 32, 33%. So he's going to have those opportunities, and I think he understands that. And more than anything, he's a finisher, man. That ball goes up and it goes in. Somebody compared his finishing ability to Trey Burke, and that's not fair. But you can see what they were talking about when he gets to the rim. he can finish, he can draw contact, and he can still make the bucket. He's strong enough to do that. So I like this kid a lot. He was one of the ones when we were looking at Jaden Pickett and some of those other ones, Jacob Young. And the interesting thing about it is we heard that this kid was probably going to end up at Houston, and it was a foregone conclusion. And guess what? He has the Zoom call with Juwan Howard. And now it sounds like Jacob Young might end up at Houston. I don't know if he's announced yet or not. Again, this is Friday night. But DeVante Jones and Juwan Howard, you know what? When Juwan Howard gets on there, the honesty and the presentation, it's hard to say no to this guy because he's not making promises. He's making guarantees that he's going to do his best to get the best out of you. And DeVante Jones appeared to like what he heard.
There's so much BS out there in college basketball recruiting. Now the transfer market is a huge thing. And some kids, just want to hear like the truth. And, we've talked about this before about how genuine Juwan Howard is, and you can't, speak to it enough. I was talking to an AAU coach last season, the coach of this is Doug Martin, the coach of Hunter Dickinson and Terrence Williams, also Doug McDaniel, a 2022 target, and he said that Juwan Howard was sitting at an AAU event. This is before the dead period, obviously, before COVID and everything, and he was talking to Doug Martin, this coach's entire family, Hunter Dickinson's family. Like, he was just doing that, out of just being a genuine person that's just connecting with these people. He gets on a Zoom call. It's not going to be the same. He probably wishes he could get in person, but man, I mean, you can just tell probably through the computer, that this is who this guy is and that he's not going to make any promises, but that's exactly, a guy like this wants to go prove himself anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of people are asking what's going to happen with Zeb Jackson. Zeb Jackson's going to still have an opportunity to prove himself. He's really a first-year guy still. I mean, in eligibility-wise, he's a baby, man, and he's going to have that opportunity if he sticks it out to continue to improve and to be a guy like Eli Brooks who continued to get better every year. And look at him now, right? So, and there's nothing saying that Zeb Jackson won't have a great summer and a great fall and come back and compete for a starting job. This guy showed flashes. Sometimes the light goes on a little bit later for some of these guys, and it's not a sin and it's not terrible. So, but with Eli Brooks in the backcourt, if you get DeVante Jones, Frankie Collins, man, is going to have something to say about all this. This kid getting downhill has some dog in his game, man. This is a guy, we've spoken to some people that said he just can't wait to get here and show everybody that, hey, I was underrated. And the same thing with Isaiah Barnes, who's not a point guard, but you've got a lot of guys vying for time. And, they're not all going to play, but you know what? They're going to bring out the best in each other, and then the best guys are going to play. So that's the way a program should be. And I think you're going to see what Juwan Howard's program is all about, just as it was with John Beilein's program.
And I agree, and I think that a lot of these guys as well, like, yeah, they're going to, they didn't know DeVante Jones was going to be here if he comes, let's say he commits. But they weren't promised anything either, when you go back to that kind of premise. But real quick before we go, Adam Miller is deciding as well, I believe, this weekend from Illinois. You're shaking your head already, but obviously, Michigan was named as a school in the mix. Obviously, we don't expect that to happen.
No, and I don't know how serious, Michigan might have given a nod.
It might have been one text or phone call. Yeah.
Right. And Juwan's, from Chicago. Juwan Howard's from Chicago. So, yeah, Adam Miller. But no. And I hate that transfer, to be honest with you. I mean, what are you kidding me? You went to the national championship game last year. You're going to have an opportunity to have be a huge part of a program that was really doing some things. I didn't say national championship.
Big Ten tournament championship. They finished second in the Big Ten. just to get a
contender. And so I don't like it, but don't waste your time there. I don't think they will. I don't think they have room for him anyway, especially if DeVante Jones commits, which we expect him to do.
There you have it. So there is the latest. Look for DeVante Jones' decision noon on Saturday. If he does choose Michigan, we'll have full coverage over at thewolverine.com. Again, the promo code BLUE60 gets you on our message board with all of our subscribers. Interacting with them over at thewolverine.com, BLUE60, 2 months for free. We'll see you next time.